So a few weeks ago, we made some antique muzzleloading propellant out of balsa wood. Now, this particular balsa wood happened to be leftover RC airplane balsa wood. And as luck would have it, it turned out to be the cleanest burning black powder, antique muzzleloading propellant, that we have ever made thus far. Now, I've tried a lot of different things to get clean burning antique muzzle loading propellant. I've tried washing the charcoal in both solvents and water. I've tried various types of medias. I've tried all kinds of stuff. But what I have found is slow cooking the charcoal, slow cooking your wood, whatever it is you're using to make charcoal, is a big part of it. Also, for me, and I've mentioned this in other videos, not using lead was a big key issue on making clean powder. Now, I've talked to plenty of people that say they use lead and their powder's super clean, and if that's the case and that works for you, fine, great, glad to hear it. But for me, switching to brass and slow cooking the charcoal were very important issues. Now, after we did that and we came up with the balsa wood, we are able to make powder that is just as clean, if not cleaner, than Swiss. Now, the last time I talked about this, I said we were going to do a side-by-side comparison where we take one shot, swab the barrel, try it with the other powder, fire it, swab the barrel, and then compare the patches. And so that's what we did between Swiss and the balsa powder. So there it is. All right, so this is 50 grains of 3F Swiss. $17.46. Now we'll swab it. I have a bunch of people telling me in the last video that's like, well, you should weigh it. You know, you could weigh your patch and find out how much junk it picks up. But the problem with that is that I find is like it depends on how wet it is. Because if it's more wet, it's going to be heavier. Yeah. So you'd have to use a dry patch. And you'd have to weigh each patch before. And then after. Yeah, which I suppose you could do.
That's a nightmare to do in field, though. That is a nightmare to do in field.
Well, and I think really the other part is it doesn't really matter because I could tell it's cleaner and I could tell it's easier to load. All right, so here's Swiss.
One shot.
After one shot. Let's take a picture of that. All right, so we got it cleaned up with the Swiss. Now we've got it loaded with 50 grains of the balsa powder. $17.13.
I like it. What was that Swiss shot? 1749,
1747, something like that.
Yeah. And here we are with balsa stuff that's just as clean, if not a little cleaner. And just about 30 to 50 feet per second slower.
Yeah.
I'd
Give
say
or take a little.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty damn good, man. I never ever would have expected it with something like balsa. Let me see that. Look at that, man. Look at that. That's freaking... Dadgummit.
Other than the Swiss on the left being slightly more dry.
Yeah.
Because it's been sitting here for a couple minutes. Now, I should clarify this because in the last video that I did on this, I made the statement that it is cleaner than Swiss. Now, when you look at these two patches, and I'll show you a still of them here, the left is Swiss, the right is balsa. They look pretty much the same, but if you sit here and look at them long enough, you might come to the conclusion that the balsa is a little bit more dirty if you look hard. But I think it might just be that that's what I just swabbed it. I just, had that patch in my mouth and swabbed it. And the Swiss patch was dry, had been sitting in the sun for a few minutes. So it might just be that. Also, I could get double the amount of shots with my balsa powder before I really am starting to struggle to load my rifle, where the Swiss, I get half as many shots where it's work to load the thing. So it could be that the fouling is just softer with the balsa. It looks equal to me as far as the patches go, but the performance, I can get double the amount of shots before I really need to swab that barrel. So at the very least, it's equal in looks. In performance, it outperforms Swiss. Now, I still get a lot of comments on this subject. Anytime I say I fire 3 shots, I swab my barrel really quick, 1 down, 1 up, and I'm done. And I go back to shooting. There's a lot of people that, tell me that's ridiculous. You don't need to swab it that often, blah, 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 all that shit. Look, however you like to do it, that's great. If that's what works for you, that's fine. This is how I like to do it. It works well for me, and that's why I do it. Everybody has their own way of doing things, and they think theirs is the best way, and everyone should do it that way. Well, sorry, but that's not how the world works. So again, I appreciate it. You do it how you like. I'll do it how I like. So as far as the cleanliness stuff goes, it outperforms Swiss. As far as looking at it on the patch, it looks practically equal, but as performance goes, it outperforms Swiss. Now, there's a couple of things about the Balsa that are unfortunate. Solely the price and obtainability. You could get it. Craft stores do sell it. You can order it. It's expensive. The trouble, and I didn't mention this in the last video, and I wish I would have, is when I make alder buckthorn powder, for example, and I make a 200-gram batch of powder, I use 26 grams of alder buckthorn charcoal. And when I'm weighing it out, I use a little Dixie cup. And it takes, to make alder buckthorn powder, just about a whole Dixie cup worth of charcoal to equal 26 grams for a 200-gram batch of powder at 771310. It takes 3 Dixie cups worth of balsa charcoal to equal the same 26 grams for a 200-gram batch. So it's so light and fluffy, it takes a lot more volume to get you that 26 grams for a 200-gram batch than it would if it was any other charcoal that I've tried so far. I don't care if it's all the different kinds of pines, willow, cedar, alder buckthorn. It takes a lot more volume of charcoal to make the same amount of powder. So that's kind of unfortunate, meaning it doesn't go as far. That's all. It's still a win in my book. It outperforms Swiss in cleanliness. It's not as fast, that's for sure. It's still 30 or 40 feet per second slower, I think. But you know what? That's pretty marginal in my book. If it was 150 feet per second slower or 100 feet per second slower, okay, then I might be complaining about it. 30 or 40, I'm not too worried about that, especially with how well it performs and how clean it is. Now, we have been using this powder, and this is, we've made 2 batches so far, and we've burned through all of it because everyone just loves it. It works well in anything and everything. I've used it in all my flintlocks so far. The Sea Service pistol that belongs to Snapper. My brother's used it in his guns. We've used the hell out of it, and it works exceptionally well. Everyone is super happy with the performance of it. And again, the only problem is it's hard to get a hold of balsa, and when you do get a hold of it, it's expensive. And what you do get a hold of doesn't go very far. So maybe we'll look into something that's close to balsa that's not exactly balsa. So, as usual, folks, if you thought this video didn't suck, do me a favor and hit the like button and consider subscribing. And if you did think it sucked, well, then go make your own damn video.